educate graduate level pure math physics to the whole planet for free, which is very nice. My only expense is the whiteboard, the camcorder, well that was a few $100, a tripod, and my knowledge, so I can do it effectively for free, which is great. Anyway, WordPress, they provide a means for me to see how many people hit my website per day and from which countries, which is interesting. Virtually 0 from Africa, a few from South America. In fact, I can give you the top 6 now, because I have about 3 months of statistics on deGarisMPC. So things of, the sample size, well, there are large numbers of hits. So I can give you the ranking. Now, in terms of absolute numbers of hits, far and away, of course, the US, given the highly developed country and the 3rd largest population in the world. So, and then Britain. Now, pro rata, if you divide the American number of hits by, what would it be, 5, because that's the US population is 5 times larger than the UK population, then Britain's actually ahead a little in pro rata terms per person. So second place Britain, and then Denmark, which surprised me. Now I know the Scandinavians, that English is very good because television programs in English tend not to be dubbed because it's expensive. Now the larger countries like Germany and France and so on, they dub their English language programs. So the population gets less practice in English than the smaller countries like Holland and Scandinavian countries. So Denmark's way up there. It's like 3rd. I think 4th is Australia. Now pro rata, Australia I think is in the lead. Only a small population, a bit over 20 million. Canada, and then Germany. Now, Germans do dub their television programs, because I used to live in Brussels. I used to watch a lot of German television, so dubbed. Germany's big population, the largest population in Europe, about 80 million. So one of the big countries by European scale standards. And German's very smart, of course. Highest average IQ in Western Europe, 105. So smart and largish population. So German's in 5th, 6th place. So interesting. Black Africa, virtually nothing, except South Africa. But there are a lot of whites there. By the way, I am PR, not PC. I don't like being lied to, and I intensively dislike PC, political correctness, because I find it inscienate, meaning ignorant of science. There are just too many scientific studies now showing the existence of the world IQ map, and the reality, and I underline that word, is that there are differences in average IQs over whole races. Now the yellows are the smartest, the Northeast Asians, the Chinese, the Koreans, the Japanese, they average about 105. And then on average the Europeans next at about 100. So Russians, West Europeans, with variations within, between the countries of Europe. Then a great swathe of humanity at 85. I've done this before, but it's interesting. The Native Americans, the North African Arabs, the Middle Eastern countries 85, India 85, and I believe that'll have a huge impact on India's development. They will just never be competitive with the Chinese, who are on average 20 IQ points above them, on average. I mean, that, mark my word. unless the standard deviation is significantly different. I don't hear much about that in research literature. They talk about averages a lot, but not the standard deviation, like the spread. I assume it's the same, but you know, I don't know. I just plead ignorance. But anyway, I don't like being lied to by people telling me that there's no difference in the races. It's all environmental bullshit. I mean, there's so many studies now showing that that's not the case. A really famous one I found convincing was regarding blacks and average IQs. If take a grandchild with 4 black grandparents, then that, on average, over many large numbers, that grandchild will have a given average IQ. And then take those grandchildren with 3 black grandparents, 1 white, then the average IQ of that grandchild would be a few points more. And then grandchildren with 2 black grandparents and 2 white grandparents, again the IQ will be up a few points more. And similarly with 1 black grandparent and 3 white grandparents, again the average IQ up. And then a white child with 4 white grandparents, again IQ up. And the total IQ shift is 30 points. 30 points, that's a lot. So average IQ of blacks in sub-Saharan, black Africa, is 70. 70. That's really dumb by white standards. So there are books out that investigate the average IQ and the general economic performance, the level of development of a country, and they correlate. I mean, just ask yourself, imagine hypothetically you put millions of people and left them to themselves, but their average IQ was 70, and you came back, say, a human generation later. What would their level of development be like? Well, they'd probably be living in shanty towns and whatnot. So you can ask the question, is the lack of development in Africa, black Africa, is it, are their IQs stunted because of the environment they live in? Or is the environment they live in as a result of their very low IQ, their 70s? So, maybe a little bit of both, but the genetic component should not be ignored. And I get pissed off and antsy when the environmentalists plug that it's totally due to environment. I mean, I just find that intellectually dishonest. I don't like it. So I'm PR, politically realist, rather than PC, politically correct. And the tide increasingly is turning towards PR. As more and more people like me get fed up with the intellectual dishonesty of PC and reject it. Okay, I suppose you've noticed I tend to mix the technical with the political. That's just my style. If you don't like it, well, you can fast forward until I get back to the math. All right. Okay. Well, that's the end of the session. The next example will be the helium atom. And I'll give you a bit of a foretaste. It's the helium atom. We're talking about 2 electrons now. Okay, so we're talking a multi-particle system, and therefore we need to have a wave function. Our wave functions will now be involving the theory of multi-particles. The wave function, since we're talking about electrons, the electrons are fermions. We talked a bit about this earlier, fermions and bosons. Now fermions obey the Pauli exclusion principle, which says that in a quantum system you cannot have 2 particles that have the same eigenstate. In other words, you cannot have 2 particles all of whose quantum numbers are the same. That's forbidden. We will talk about the helium atom, so with 2 electrons, so 2 electrons, hence 2 fermions, and therefore the wave function of those two, a 2-particle system will need to be anti-symmetric, right? We talked about that before. Fermions have anti-symmetric wave functions, and bosons have symmetric wave functions. Talked about that about halfway through the course, I guess. Right, so we will be using that bit of theory, and it goes on for nearly 2 sessions. So that will be our next example. So, ciao.